Episode 125 of Five Drinks to Midnight. You know the show, we bring the questions, guests bring the drinks, we try to wrap up before midnight. Today we have a special St. Patrick's Day episode, and we are talking to Faye Leggett and Aidan Mehigan, founders of Natterjack Irish Whiskey. But before we do, like and subscribe, hit the bells, the whistles, you know what to do. Leave a comment if you really like this episode. Let's get started. Thank you so much for joining me. 5 drinks or midnight. 5 drinks, 5 questions, midnight, whatever comes first. I guess first, happy St. Patrick's Day. I know being Irish and English, we don't celebrate, but you know, you're in Texas now, so happy St. Patrick's Day.
And to you, and to you.
Happy St. Patty's Day.
It was such a pleasure meeting you guys at the New York launch, and I'm so excited that you agreed to do the show. So I thought no better than, you know, having you guys on, a new Irish whiskey to the market. So what a perfect way to kick off St. Patrick's Day. And so what are we going to drink first?
I think what we're going to start off with is...
A
coffee. Yeah, come on, let's start with coffee. Yeah. Natterjack Irish coffee martini. So it's basically the espresso martini.
All right.
There's first one for my lady and another one for me. And they should have a nice froth. As you know...
If this coffee bean sinks, you're getting fired.
Oh, yeah.
This is coffee bean garnished.
Oh! It's swimming.
It's swimming.
There we go. Not fired yet.
Shame we don't have a camera on the roof. Look at that. Watch it, Tim.
Yes, watch it, Tim. Thanks for having me. Happy Paddy's Day.
Cheers. Oh, yeah.
It's really good.
Faye just said, like, it's really good, like, completely surprised. We based our entire lives on this drink, right? And I was like, actually, that's all right.
She's so impressed.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's like she doubted your skills or something. It's just like, as a man that was unable to...
Wouldn't happen.
Wouldn't dream.
Yeah.
I mean, so question one is a little bit of an origin story. I mean, well, it is an origin story. We always ask, how'd you get started in the spirits business?
Yeah, and it's something that we love talking about, right? Because it's been a hell of a journey to get here. But sometimes I think, rather than me give you the thing that I always say, why don't we ask Faye what she thinks?
Can't believe you just did that.
Yeah.
How did we get started in the spirits business? What can I tell the warts and all?
Yeah.
So you were 35, divorced,
Yeah.
wanted to build something,
Yeah.
had a job in finance,
Mm-hmm.
and wanted something you could actually touch and hold.
Yeah.
And I guess safe to say you were kind of a bit down and out.
That's harsh, but ultimately fair.
Hadn't made a huge success of yourself so far. And you realised that Irish whiskey had missed you.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. So Irish whiskey had missed me, and I like a night out as much as anyone else. Actually, more than some people, more than a lot of people. But
too much, you might say.
So I figured, look, if Irish whiskey had missed me, it must have missed other people. And I was like, why is that? Like, what is it about the flavour or the story or the brand or the product that slipped past me? And then we tried to answer those questions. And for me, I knew what my favourite bourbon was, absolutely. But I didn't know what my favourite Irish whiskey was. So I handed in my notice, and my old boss was really supportive. He was like, "Go for it. I think it's a great idea. Go see what you can do." And I kind of went on this journey where I said, "Look, why don't I learn how to make Irish whiskey? Well, make bourbon, but with Irish ingredients, right?" So I went off on a journey and met a load of people who were still involved in the business. So Jordan Vi, who's our distiller, Stephen, who's chairman of my board, and we just we knew the flavor profile. We knew we wanted something fun because we got into drinking because it's fun. That's kind of the long and short of it. But Irish whiskey was kind of taking itself more and more seriously by the day. So with the idea of a flavor profile closer to bourbon and a brand that spoke to people in a very fun and approachable way, we kind of knew what we wanted to do. And then...
Well, we figured that bourbon seemed to be more versatile and more approachable than whiskey, and was appealing to a younger audience that Irish wasn't. Hence, taking the inspiration, and then it was, just divine kind of chance that you met Jordan and were able to come up with this idea of an Irish whiskey with a bourbon aging technique, which would kind of become the gateway drug from one to the other. And then the other thing that you, am I allowed to say, you said about, the current Irish whiskey sector, the customers are leaving the category in a box.
Yeah.
And,
we wanted to speak to people coming to brown spirits. So younger people, right? So women, although that's kind of past, women this was kind of in 2016. No, they haven't ceased to exist.
They're not past.
No, the idea of bringing them to brown spirits is kind of old hat, I suppose, for me. There's some of the best distillers in the world are female, right? So, and some of the business owners are so they're kind of saying, "Oh, we want to do that." It's a bit old hat. That's kind of what I'm saying. It's a bit patronizing, you might say.
Good save.
Thank you. So, but there's what we wanted to do, right? Fun, young, but with the things that Irish whiskey does great, which is accessibility, but also price point, right? There's no point in saying I want somebody who's 25 to taste my whiskey, and my whiskey's $80 because they're like, I'm sure it's amazing. It's amazing for me when I'm 50, right?
Yeah.
But we work really hard in being approachable, both in ethos, in flavor profile, and in cost.
I love the video that's on your guys' website about how you moved to Kentucky with a bike, you crashed on a couch, like you were just like, I'm here to stay, but like, and then kind of going back to Ireland, then like, how is it received in Ireland? Like, especially with like, because like you said, you've kind of created a gateway drug here in America where you're like, it's bourbon-esque, but it's Irish whiskey. And then is it in Ireland? Is it Irish whiskey with a flair of bourbon, or how does?
To be honest, quite a few people in Ireland who I speak to, who are family members of mine, still don't understand what we are, and there's definitely a lack of understanding. There's a thought that it's an Irish bourbon or whatever. I mean, it's not. It's true Irish whiskey. But
I think my response would be that there was skepticism among the Irish whiskey purists, but when people taste it, it's almost universally popular.
Yeah. I think that's
so that, we kind of, in that way, we let the liquid speak for itself.
Yeah, and again, apologies. I mean, yes, it is. Like Jordan has said that it's a Irish. It is 100% Irish whiskey. I did not mean to, but it's a bourbon approach of making Irish whiskey. So again, apologies for that.
But it's a great question, and not one I'm asked very often, which is how is it approached in Ireland? And I think in a way, our not being a place name and not being a surname, which back in 2016, very, I think we were the first people to do it, but we only launched in 2019 and others came to market during that period. But our face didn't really fit in the Irish scene, and maybe still doesn't. But Tim, that's half the fun, right? Like
exactly. That I mean that event that you guys had here in New York, that was absolutely amazing. Like it was so. And again, I don't want to make this sound insulting because it's not insulting, but it was just so fun and just enjoyable, and people came together, but it was like so not Irish that it was Irish. Like that, I guess that was the funness of the night, was that it was just people having a good time, talking, drinking really great drinks, and I don't know, there was just something really special about that night, and that's where like after meeting you two, I really had to have you on the show. So like that is absolutely amazing. So
Thank you, because that event was what we. When I talk about fun, right? This Natterjack's an embodiment of having a drink with myself, Faye, or the rest of the team, or that's the attempt is that's what we're attempting to do. So what that event was supposed to be was really relaxed and really fun.
Welcoming, warm, generous, like all our brand attributes.
Yeah. Come and have a drink with us.
It was great fun for us too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I love that. Like again, being able to, that, like Faye had said, that you having something to be able to hold and be a part of and leave that legacy behind, and just really kind of create that thing, and really kind of give it your all, and like you said, like giving up the house and moving in with the parents and like everything, like that's just such an awesome true story. Like it's not like just this, because like you said, like you could have put a story behind it and called it, Granddad Shipwreck Whiskey or whatever, and just been like whatever and made up marketing employees. But like again, you have something that's, and we'll get into it on question 2, but like you have something that's really tangible. But your guys' story in general is like you prevailed. Like you went in and you wanted something and you kicked ass to fucking make it, and now you got 2 fucking bottles. So I think that is just absolutely amazing. So I just want to say cheers to that. So that's fucking awesome. So
it's an interesting point, and probably this is more behind the scenes, but we spent ages trying to come up with that Grandad Shipwreck story, and we talked about different ways to do it, and it just never sounded authentic. Right? It's very for me, for Faye, for any of the team, talking about fake things didn't really work, and so. And once again, not criticizing anybody else. People do what they got to do, but I don't find that easy.
And I think that shows as well, like our misunderstanding before we got here of the American market. We really didn't think people wanted to hear an underdog story. We didn't think they wanted to hear a story of almost failure. We thought they wanted to hear how, we'd gone out, got it, and succeeded from the get-go. And that wasn't the truth. So trying to spin it like that didn't feel authentic at all. And then I don't even really know how it happened, but I guess just in spite of ourselves, we ended up being brutally honest. And then suddenly people loved that story, the true story of how we had lost our house, our car, our whole life, moved in with parents, and really being through the ringer. And like, it's easy for that to trip off the tongue now as a story, but like living that is so hard when you have this dream, because you don't know that you're coming out the other side of it with this great, successful brand that's being well received, and that we're being here on a podcast with you. Like when you're going through that, you don't know whether you can afford to feed your family next week or whether you have to go get a job because this whole dream is kaput.
Yep.
And I suppose like when we opened up a bit more and began to tell the story of actually how hard it was to do this, but how we believed in it so much, we decided we'd go all the way. And even if all the way meant that we were back working in corporate jobs saying it failed, then so be it. We'd know we'd given it everything. And,
yes.
So it feels like a privilege to be sitting here with you today.
Yeah.
No, and I appreciate it. And too, I mean, I just, again, glasses up for you guys, because that is just really a fucking awesome story. So
thank you.
Cheers.
All right, so that's question 1. Super easy. Train's leaving the station. Band-Aids ripped off.
Let's go.
All right, question 2, drink 2. What are we drinking?
So we are drinking Natterjack Cask Strength, which last year, or this year's Irish Whiskey of the Year in Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible. Now, to put that in context, right, when you look at the previous winners, they are from the core of big Irish whiskey, right? And when the phone rang, it was Jim Murray, and he's like, "I've got some good news for you." And I was like, "How can I curse on this?"
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we are not a family show, so yeah, you could say anything you want.
How the fuck does Jim Murray have my phone number? So I've got some good news for you. And he said, we got 95.5 points for Cask Strength. what you and Jordan have made here is really incredible. I actually had to taste it a second time because when I tasted it last year, I thought it was nice, but I noticed that you're changing it every year. And this year is absolutely incredible. It's one of the best whiskies I've ever had. And it was straight away a 95.5 points. And he said something in a broad English accent that I didn't really hear. Something about... So anyway, I was like, 95.5 points. Amazing scenes. Then we get the book, and I'm looking through the grade that is the Irish Whiskies of the Year, and it's like cask strength, Irish Whiskey of the Year, and Blend of the Year, cask strength. And we were like,
Natterjack Irish Whiskey.
Natterjack Irish Whiskey. And it's like, I was like, Faye, have I? Have we? So
That's so fucking awesome.
And we look back at the history of who won this.
Yeah.
And are we allowed to say?
Yeah, it's Redbreast 12-year-old cask strength. It's Bushmills 30-year-old. It's
18-year-old.
Yeah. And
there's not another non-age statement whiskey.
No, there isn't. That's true. And no independence either. And look, Jim Murray has a palate that is world renowned, and he is not viable. So I'm not suggesting for a moment that those are just the best whiskies in Ireland. And
right.
Ours is the best whiskey in the country that the country has produced. That's kind of wild, because if you think about it, Tim, right? We put a critter on the bottle, right? That's the truth. Because I thought it was fun and the toad is great, right? We did that, and we did it knowingly. Everything about this process is deliberate. However, to do that and get whiskey of the year, like some friends of ours were like, I think she might have said, "Sorry, you what?" So it was amazing. But what we did was the blend for each year is going to be different. So there's going to be vertical tastings as time go on. And it's actually quite a hard thing to do from a label perspective, because spirits can't be confused with wine. So because it's not a vintage, right? It's not the year that it was harvested or anything. So we're very clear it's captured and bottled in that year, and that's what that reference is. So anyway, I was so confused. I called Jim Murray again, and he's like, I said, I've just got the book. Like, is that a misprint? And he's like, no, but thank you for calling me. No one ever does. I make misprints. This isn't a misprint. It's still the best Irish whiskey I tasted all year. And I tasted 192. So we'll take it.
That's awesome. I was hoping that he would have said, when I called Jim Murray, he was like, how in the fuck did you get my number? So like,
yeah, he was less surprised if he had a call from me. I'd say, what's this?
But I think what it was is, all through this process, we were so new to this business. We made many, many mistakes, and that's a conversation for another day. I'm sure some of them will come up today. But people kept saying over and over again, nobody cares about the liquid. They care about the brand. So prove that your brand sells, and it doesn't matter what's in your bottle. And you didn't believe that, right? And you spoke about it many times, and you said to me, that doesn't ring true. I think, one, I wanted to be able to stand behind this product as something I'm proud of, and something I like to drink, and to genuinely know that we're not, just packaging up.
Just charlatans, right?
Yeah. Something in a fancy bottle, and being that kind of one-hit wonder. And I really think that is a testament to the integrity that you had through that, because it would have been very easy in tough times to put something much cheaper and of less quality into the bottle and see how we go.
I'll tell you a funny story, right? When I was going to meet Jordan, so part of the blending process with Jordan is he wasn't living in Ireland, so I was taking samples to the US, hopping on a flight, completely lying about what was in my bags, and landing in an American city, right? And I thought I had the blend down, and I had a supply contract signed with a supplier in Ireland, and I got over there with the samples, and Jordan tasted these samples, and they're nothing to do with Natterjack as it currently stands, and he said, I'm no longer involved in the project if that's going to be our whiskey. I'm not willing to stand behind it. And I was like, got a problem.
Yeah. You're the only credibility we have.
Yeah. We need you to stay. I'll do whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
So I was sitting in the hotel room and we'd done this blend, and he's like, I want nothing to do with the colours. Anyway, I had to go back and rip up the supply contract with the supplier and go back to the drawing board, and it probably put the business back about a year because we had to go and find triple still. We always want triple still. We had to find triple distilled supply contracts elsewhere. And look, that's no secret. It's Great Northern. And then when they came online, we started the finishing process ourselves. But the thought process behind cask strength was, and this is a...
Can we drink this now?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Let's have a taste.
Oh, yeah.
Love an old chat, Irish.
Sorry, I was late. I didn't even pour yet. I was too busy. I was so enthralled in the story, so...
Slauncher.
Cheers.
I will say, there is something very special about this one. Like, I was blown away when I had this in New York. Like, honestly, this was just... I mean, cocktails were absolutely amazing, but once the cask strength touched my lips there, you got me hooked. Like, I think I told you guys I'd be jonesing for that now. Like, honestly, there's something really special about this bottle. This is just fucking gorgeous. I am.
But so because look, this all comes back to Jordan's expertise, right? Faye and I can say we like something, or Scott and David can tell me that they think something's leaning a certain direction, and that's great. And involving the team is really important. But Jordan is kind of the palate behind it. So when we're tasting with him, and we've been on holidays with him, we go wine tasting with him, and he's telling you what something had, a certain amount of skin for a certain level of whatever. He loses me, right? But with this, the only thing I said to him is we can blend and we can do whatever we want. We can leave it as long as we want in barrel. We can do any char you want. However, when it comes out of barrel, it can't be cut, because I wanted to do true cask strength. The barrel marrow, right? The marrow, what's in the barrel. I want people to be able to taste that. So he was like, well, it doesn't have to be that high. And then someone else was like, tax on that's going to be really high. You're better in kind of mid-50s to keep the price point down, because everyone wants to keep the price point down. However, I was like, no. Once again, this goes back to what Faye said. It's like, what do you want to do? What's the reason we're doing this, right? If the reason we're doing this is to do something different, let's do it. If the reason we're doing this is to fill a gap in a portfolio the way everyone else does, well, we should pack up the shop and go home.
No one needs something new in that.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Go
so
make gin or something.
Yeah, and exactly.
Would
right?
be way cheaper.
Way cheaper.
Yeah.
But and then Jordan was like, so when we started playing around with this, we were like, it just where it came out of the barrel and through the sieve, out of the barrel through the sieve and into the bottle, non-chill filtered. Jordan was like, this is really good. Now it's much more bourbony, right? And Jordan's a 15, 20-year bourbon maker, all that. But that was kind of, it was one of the questions Tim Murray asked, was like, well, with that attitude where you're not cutting the ABV after it comes out of barrel, are you going to be able to reproduce this? My answer was yes. The truth is, I have no idea.
Fake it till you make it, right? Like that. I mean, the answer is always yes until you can't, and then you figure out something else. But yeah, no, the answer is always yes.
Yeah.
Going in with that cask strength, like you said, a pure cask strength, going back to almost like the follow-up question from question one, how is Ireland handling that? Because again, you're even higher up than what, Irish are considering cask strength. And that Ireland is starting to get that way of becoming like cask strength. Like there's the cask strength crusaders and all those people like in Ireland that are kind of really popping up. But you guys are even higher. Like you're kind of, and I hate this, but you're more like a bourbon cask strength. Like you're like that higher up. And is Ireland and like Europe accepting that or?
Yes.
Excellent.
They love the flavor profile.
Excellent.
But I think probably we're a bit outside, given the non-age statement and given our price point, we're outside what some people are willing to take a chance on. So
Okay.
we do sampling, we don't have minis or anything like that. So people have to buy a bottle.
I mean, I'm more or less sold out, maybe.
Yes, we are. So but what,
Someone's taking a chance.
yeah.
I think to that point, like realize that the integrity behind this is true cask strength.
Yeah.
This is not just a higher ABV than normal, but still cut down to hide any weaknesses. This is a warts and all, see it as it is, true cask strength. And we didn't necessarily make it to, I mean, obviously we wanted to be accepted, we wanted to sell whiskey, but we always wanted to disrupt.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And as I go for my second pour. But absolutely.
Right.
But no, I mean, absolutely. You guys, you're not just doing cask strength for cask strength. The flavor here is just absolutely amazing. So that's, I just...
And it doesn't drink like it's 63% ABV or 126 proof. For me, it's more of a 55 sort of level. Now, and that's the triple distillation, and that's the blending, and that's kind of the magic Jordan weaves. But as Faye said, what we weren't expecting, Tim, is, and I know your audience are I don't know what percentage, but largely US focused. Natterjack's a global business, right? We're in 14 markets now globally. And take South Korea. We got a big order from them recently. It's 90% cask strength. And it's like, so we're, we produce a certain amount of it every year, but it's tough to keep it in stock.
Yeah.
So we're doing something right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that, I just, ugh. All right. So question 2, you guys, we talked a little bit about it in the beginning and going back to the brand story, but you have this big, beautiful pewter frog on there. So what is a Natterjack? Why'd you make it the mascot? And then what is a 4-toed black?
That's a good question. I'll take 4-toed black once Faye has told you about the toad.
All right.
Yeah, the Natterjack toad, the only toad indigenous to Ireland. It's endangered, but now is in every corner of the globe, almost. Much like the Irish.
Yep.
Mating call 2 kilometers away. Some say also like the Irish. Doesn't seem to be any shortage of them on the planet, anyway.
That's true.
So yeah, we say it's our spirit animal. It journeys in its own way. Like you said, it can't hop, it walks, it can't swim, it drowns. But it's a survivor nonetheless. And it lives in the dunes, doesn't it, down in County Kerry?
Mm-hmm.
And we go and support the release of thousands of these little suicidal toads into the wild each year.
And I think that's absolutely amazing. Because again, you guys also cultivate or rescue or repopulate the frogs.
Yeah, we're not toad farmers, but we're definitely supporting the conservation effort.
Right.
They're great. They're also really recognizable with this big yellow stripe down their back. That's why we have this on our brand, on our cars, everything, on our t-shirts, on our merch. So yeah, that's again a nod to the Natterjack toad. And we also loved, bourbon does really well with animals on the bottle.
Yep.
Irish is much more, as you said, place names and surnames, and we wanted to bring some modernity and disrupt the sector. So we also loved, our friend Kelvin, who's an artist, and he's drawn many artworks that we have in our home. And you wanted to use one of those, didn't you, originally on the bottle?
Yeah.
And he said, you can't. That's an existing piece of art that people have paid a lot of money for in their living rooms. It can't just turn up on a whiskey bottle. There's copyright and there's...
And I was livid. I was like, I'm an artist. I was like, come on, man.
So you wanted to call it Two Fish Blue, right? After this fish drawing he did. And that eventually turned into the toad, and I'll segue that into your 4-toed black.
Well, hang on, and then before we get into the 4-toed black, so you have 4 illustrations of the toad. Mm-hmm. Does that mean that each one of you is a certain toad?
That could be the case. Yeah. In some ways, that's why. So the toad and its purposeful walk. There's a video on our website that shows you how the toad walks rather than hops, right? And it walks very definitively into a situation. Now, lots of those situations get killed. So it is in ways the team, right? We have made some big mistakes, and we've I think you'd say I'm frequently wrong, but never in doubt. But like we go headlong into situations; they don't always work out.
I would say that.
Yeah, and so we're definitely the toad is us, and it's the team, and everyone is embodied in to a greater or lesser extent in those kind of four toads. Yeah,
and we've grown into us in so many ways. The warts and all, like that's the honesty that we like to bring to the front of our branding. Our personalities into the brand. And it's grown through the sexy beast. Like, what's your definition of sexy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we think it has character. It's fun, and it has that sort of not recklessness, but that live deliberately. Like that we really launched off that slogan that we changed our lives for this dream and given up everything to make it work. And we felt that this guy was a good embodiment.
Excellent. Well, and I noticed on the site, everybody has a toad name except for Faye. Faye, what would your toad name be?
I'm interested to hear this one.
I suppose like Mama Toad.
We'll give it Mama Toad, right?
Which sounds a bit like Nematode.
Mama Toad.
Mama Toad. I mean, I was thinking Boss Toad, but Mama Toad works too. Yeah.
Well, everyone needs something to aim for, Tim. So
yeah.
Here's 360 review.
We'll put that in with HR. So we'll have that as a milestone. All right. So then, what is Four Toed Black?
So, as I was saying, our history wasn't in this industry, right? And there's a magazine around here somewhere that shows the kind of breadth of the vision that started this. And there was going to be, Natterjack was going to be our Irish whiskey. Four Toed Black was going to be our bourbon.
Oh.
Cane Toad Rum was going to be the rum, which was based on the Australian cane toad, or the cane toad from the Caribbean. And then we were going to do fire toad, like there's a type of fire toad, and that was going to be a spiced vodka, right? And I was like, I am going to transform the industry cross categories, right? We're going to a startup that's doing everything, and it turned out that that's absolute insanity because the reason,
much like everything we've done,
also true, but
you have to start with a dream, right?
You do.
You figure it out as you go. But...
Yeah. And so Four Toed Black was going to be the bourbon.
And still
okay.
Absolutely. It's still maybe our best bottle is the Four Toed Black design that the guys at Slater did, and I love it. And Kelvin Drew, yeah, it was. So there's lots in the pipeline still for us, Tim. And I think it's really exciting that those, because it's just very rarely do we get asked about Four Toed Black, right? So I don't think about it, and it's just made me very happy to think about that magazine with the
story as being vision group.
Yeah. So I'm going to make this real quick, and then we'll get going.
Please.
Natterjack Black Manhattan.
Natterjack Black Manhattan. Our take on a Manhattan. So
2 ounces of Natterjack.
Yeah.
1 ounce of Amaro.
Yeah, that's a jigger, by the way.
Thanks,
That's a jigger.
You
can do the job.
And 2 dashes of orange bitters. And this is no shake, this is a stir.
Mm-hmm. And the reason behind this is we did a trip in 2019 across the States. 5 markets, 10 days, right? Very typical booze industry 10-day trip, right? You arrive in late at night, go hit some accounts, got some distributor meetings, hit some accounts, fly out the next morning, right? And what we noticed, because now you have to remember, Natterjack was really young at this stage. It wasn't in market, it was arriving the next week. And we said to every bartender we met, what would you make with this, right? Let's blank canvas, please, you have at it. And they all said, this is my Manhattan. This is from Manhattan. and it's like I've got a variation. Look, I'm not a mixologist. People made different. They put their own stamp on it, but the one that stood out was this using Amaro instead of the driver.
Sweet vermouth.
Sweet vermouth. And so well, let's make that our own, right? And I think the orange peel really lends a little bit to it, and it's lovely. Sláinte it.
Cheers.
It's showing our versatility as a cocktail.
Exactly.
No, absolutely. And that, again, not to keep going back to that night that we first met, but, that's where our love affair started. So, let's keep that going. But the cocktails were just absolutely amazing. And then just the diversity of how each one, even getting that fucking shamrock shake at the end just takes, I love a shamrock shake. It's the only time, March is the only time of the year I eat McDonald's, but it's just, I fucking love a shamrock shake. Like that is just, and to get one boozy and with the Natterjack in it, it was just, I felt like a little kid again.
The versatility of Natterjack works really well with those. It just marries.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like this just, it's absolutely amazing.
Very Moorish.
All right, so question 3. Now that we're 3 drinks in, we usually call this our talking shit segment. So we're going to talk a little crap, but also maybe set some records straight. But question 3, what do you feel is the biggest misconception about Irish whiskey, and how does Natterjack differ from that, being a disruptor brand?
So that's interesting. The biggest misconception.
I think that it's stayed and for kind of
dead right.
Old white whiskey aficionados. Only. I mean, it's for them as well, of course.
I think that's right. That it is, well, one, that it's stuffy, right? That it's taking itself too seriously. I think it's quite often seen like that, because it's single malt, it's 12 to 18 years old, it's farm to glass, and all of those things have a place, absolutely. But there's also a misconception that there is a breadth of producers in the sector. So it doesn't take a lot of Googling to work out what Middleton produce, or what Beam Suntory out of Cooley produce, or what Bushmills produce. But there's such an exciting scene in the independent blenders, bonders, and distilleries in Ireland that people forget that under the guise of JMO or Tully. And I think that's where the exciting part is. It's like the industry is hundreds of years old, obviously, but for some reason the innovation is kind of ignored because of the umbrella of those dominant brands. In a way, it's not in the US. Bourbon doesn't suffer from the same thing. Right? Like Woodford Reserve doesn't. Its tremendous size and success doesn't mean that Breckenridge can't thrive. And so there's maybe a lack of understanding of the amount of innovation that's going on at those lower levels.
Yeah, or that Irish whiskey doesn't just equal Jameson.
Yeah.
No. Well, yes, absolutely. I again, and that's why I think you guys taking a wholly different perspective on it and creating something that is just absolutely amazing. Again, cheers to you.
There's options, Tim, for us to continue to do things that are interesting and different. And I don't for a second think that we're above our station. I only just want to make sure that whenever we create a new product, that we're doing it for the right reasons, right? So something that people might want, I can't really control that. That's always a punt for a new. Actually, that's a punt for an established business. A new product is always. There's a great Simpsons episode about a car being made that bankrupts them, right?
Yeah.
Homer Designs. You probably remember it, right?
Yep.
Any questions?
What does this monstrosity cost?
Jerry, what's the sticker price? Get that. $82,000.
But so for any business, but for us, It's only about doing the product for the right reasons. Is it fun? Is it new? Does it taste good? Right? And that's it. And then the rest of it, well, okay. The great thing about whiskey is if we fuck it up, right, we're just left with something that we really like the taste of it and loads of it. So, and that's the worst that can happen. So.
Well, and again, nothing against the big guys. I don't want to discredit the big guys, but I think right now, like, stuff that you guys are doing, like the way that Fox's Bow is disrupting, the way that Cologne is disrupting and changing stuff, that's all like, you guys are, like, I love a good disruptor. I love people that just are in there being like, you know what, this was our thing, and now, like, this is the way it was, doesn't mean that's the way it has to be, I guess, is the better way of saying that.
Yeah, and I guess it's a lesson in, we had to make compromises on the way, right? We never really intended to buy and blend whiskey. We were intending to make our own, and we spent many, many tens of thousands on having the plans drawn up. We acquired a 200 mill in County Waterford, and that was our distillery. And one of the things that happened after the pandemic was the appetite for visitor centre-based investments fell away. And so, the funding we had lined up to create this beautiful distillery where we would be making our own whiskey and our home for our brand fell away. And we had to pivot then toward what we do now. And I guess what we didn't compromise on was the quality. Even if we compromised on the how and the when, and look, as we achieve recognition now, maybe those original dreams become once again a possibility.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, we get those plans back out, and because it was beautiful, wasn't it? The design for the stills, and it was tough to let go of it at the time. And it was really part of our dream of building something, was to really build a place and a home and a distillery. And we get asked often, is that still the plan? And I guess the truth is we don't know.
Yeah, but I would have said yes. Faye's right. Yeah.
It's still a dream, for sure. Whether it will become a reality depends on many, many factors.
But what's interesting, we go, obviously, look, we're in the industry now, so if we're in Kentucky, we'll go and visit a distillery, and not to the level where I'm dragging all of us along just to go see one for the sake of it, but I'm always struck when you walk into the fermenting and distilling bays of a small distillery, you're kind of overrun with these incredible smells. Some of them remind me of St. James's Gate in Dublin, right? Some of them remind me of Breckenridge. Some of them remind me of Two James in Detroit. But it's always this idea, this warmth. The smell of fermenting is life, right? And it's amazing. And it's in your nostrils, like, this is what I want to do. And that was part of the story we don't really talk about, was this idea happened when I walked into a distillery, and I was like, I saw these, it was in Two James in Detroit, and I saw these guys, and they were standing around, they were mates clearly, and they were barreling something, and they were packaging up something, and they weren't doing a huge amount of work, they were laughing a lot, and I was like, that might be the life for me. And so that was really early doors, but that's still, I would still love to have a distillery, absolutely.
We're very inspired by our great friends at Garrison Brothers here in Texas, and visiting the home that they've created there for their amazing brand, and how you can really go in and get under the bonnet of the whiskey making process. And we feel like here in the States, there's a real education piece needed around Irish whiskey as well. Like, one of the first things people often ask us is, well, what is the difference between Irish and bourbon? And like, that's, so we'd love to have a way to open that up.
All right, question 4, drink 4. What are we drinking?
We're going to drink a straight up Natterjack blend 1.
Perfect.
Our flagship. We love it. It's super smooth. It's versatile. And
You should say approachable.
it is approachable. Very approachable.
Little nod to Scott there, our global sales guy.
There we go.
And this Tim is all about not hurting you, right? Like, Scotch and some bourbons, there's the burn, and it's much prized. And so I'm not suggesting that people don't love that or that they're wrong. They're right, and at the right time that they absolutely love that. But what I really want to do, if you're bringing people to a category, you can't bring people to weightlifting and expect them on day one to squat 500 pounds, right? Just for a bad analogy, right? Or
Very bad.
very bad. Or you can't bring them.
Get to the point.
Okay, so I wanted to. It's got to be approachable. It's got to be smooth. It's got to appeal to the masses. And so we got complex with cast strength, but blend one was always supposed to be really good drinking whiskey, and that's what I think we've achieved.
Yummy, as the dad would say.
Yummy.
Yummy.
And I agree. So, all right. So, question 4. Again, you guys have set up. You're rocking the brand. We got 2 releases. You moved to Texas. What's next?
Great question. And once again, I'm going to defer to Faye. What's our next product?
Another mistake. So it is called, quite aptly, The Mistake. And this came about from this is a classic Irish situation. Our whiskey was in barrel. We made sure it was removed from barrel after the correct amount of aging for what we need for our current cask strength and blend 1. Turned out, maybe a year later, or so,
1 year later, yeah.
had not been removed from barrel at all. Had been sitting, aging away in our virgin American oak.
Yeah.
Happily. And of course, that's a complete disaster because we no longer have the whiskey we think we have for the blend we think we're making. And once again, we didn't double, triple check. We didn't go there and see it with our own eyes, removed from barrel. And anyway, we tasted it. And it was the best whiskey I'd ever tasted. And we took it around to a few other people and said, what do you think of our whiskey? And the feedback was really, really good. So you got to work with what you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
But in the interests of truth and in the interests of, look, we could have said this is our heavily oaked Natterjack. It's going to be incredible, But actually, it was a mistake. This wasn't what we aimed to do. I was watching a video on somebody's Instagram, actually one of our distributors' Instagram, PM Spirits, who distribute us in New York and are amazing, right? They were doing a piece on a cassis they had, and it was all about intention. And I was like, the mistake is actually the opposite to that. Everything we've done in the business is deliberate, from blowing up deals to releasing very few products to being very clear on what we do. That's all deliberate behavior. The one exception to that is the mistake. So what we did is we got a label that was a printing error, and we made that the front of it because that's the mistake. And then we looked for label approval from the Irish Department of Agriculture, and they were like, this doesn't make us look very good. Irish whiskey isn't about mistakes, it's about doing things well. And I was like, that's exact, you just don't understand us. You don't get it, right? We're telling the story. And they're like, well, so you put on the front of it, it's your first mistake. What's the next release going to be? And I was like, our second mistake. What mistakes is there going to be? And I was like, leave that to us. And then they came around to us. They're really good guys. And we had a great laugh about it. But
it comes back to originally when we released our brand, we didn't have a category for us to fit into. There was
place, name, surname.
And they created abstract for
us,
right? Because we didn't fit into those existing categories. So, I think you're doing something right and you're disrupting when you just don't fit and they don't have a place for you. And you're provoking those questions around, is this the way Irish whiskey wants to appear? Well,
yeah.
And I think that's awesome. I again, forcing them to change the category so that you fit is, I think that is the highest praise ever. So that is the ultimate disruptor, and I absolutely love that. So cheers to that.
Cheers.
All right, question 5, drink 5 comes down to the flip of the Whiskey Wednesday coin. But before that, what are we drinking?
One for the toad.
Okay.
So it's 1 ounce Natterjack and 1 ounce pineapple juice.
All right.
And boom, there we go. 50-50. Amazing. I don't know why it works, it just does.
And then do we shoot it or sip it? What, like?
Well, do you want to ask the coin?
Sure.
So, we're drinking out of these. I was talking about South Korea. We got these from our importer. You can't see it at the moment, but it's got our names carved inside. I think they're South Korean sake glasses, but they're really heavy and really cool.
And they're metal.
Yeah, they're metal. Let's launch it.
Very nice.
This we're asking.
Cheers.
Should we shoot it?
Should we shoot it? Here you go. Fuck yeah.
Well, there we go.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be a good St. Patrick's Day now.
For St. Paddy's Day, just to give a shout out to what we're doing, because I think this will go out a little bit before, but we've got events at Jack and Ginger's in Austin, Stan's Blue Note in Dallas. We have Mary Margaret's in St. Pete. We've got Mickey Quinn's in Tampa. We've got Flanagan's in Dunedin. We've got 5 events in New York, of which Flame Habichi, Fela, and TBC. Yeah.
All right. So question 5 comes down to the flip of the coin, even though we just did the coin. So, I mean, I don't even know if we need a question 5. I mean, I feel like we just did it. But, like, is everything bigger in Texas?
Do you want me to flip the coin to find that out?
Yeah, sure.
Fuck no. Don't tell them. But honestly, everything is bigger in Texas. It's been a culture shock in the best possible way. The people have warmed to us. It's been. I found it incredible, and I think, but
it's a wonderful quality of life.
It is.
The people down south are open, friendly. They've really accepted us, taken us into their homes and their hearts. And
I think it's somehow misunderstood. I mean, if you take, like, not to put too fine a point, when we tell people we've moved to Texas, they're like, "You've moved to Texas?"
Yeah.
Yeah, and we love it. Yeah, so.
But there we go. That's 5 drinks down, 5 questions answered. Faye and Aidan, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And again, now that we've drinking together, we are family. So anytime you're in New York, please hit me up. And then you never know, I might show up at your doorstep with a bike and crash at your couch for the next 4 or 5 months. So, but
no problem.
You'd be welcome.
Yeah,
it's the only place I know where I can get some Natterjack. So that's a flight to Austin is cheaper than probably trying to find it here in New York. So
we'll send you a list.
Yeah, we'll send you a list.
We'll send you a bottle.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you for your time. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you so much.